My name is Laura. Once again, I'm from Whitehall Meditation, and we are a group that's been around for about 10 years. We've recently become a nonprofit, and our founder, Bob Hodge, who's spoken at IMCC a few times, he now lives in Savannah, Georgia. So he does the first Wednesday of every month Zoom, so he's still teaching, and then I lead the sessions out at the Crozet Library. And they're either Saturday afternoons or Wednesday evenings, depending on the week and when we can get the room. So the best way to check is just on the website. It's usually like the second Saturday and the last Wednesday. That's what we're kind of going for in person. So we have I have some flyers if you want to see me afterwards, but it's a great group, and I invite you all to check it out. So it is a new year. Happy New Year. And I don't know if people still make resolutions. Does anybody make resolutions anymore? I don't know. Oh, okay, great. Well, hopefully my talk will still be applicable. So I was thinking about resolutions. And we know that the second step of the Eightfold Path is right intent. Now, some people have an issue with the word right because they think, well, if there's something that's right, then there must be something wrong. But it's mainly a translation issue. And another way to think of any of the Eightfold Path is skillful, wholesome. So skillful intention, wholesome intention. And I was thinking, there's a lot of new translations of the suttas coming out, which is a good thing because, of course, just like with any text throughout time, it's influenced by those who have agendas at the time that they're translating. So I know my first intention had to be not to be attached to how things are translated. I know that, because you can really get in, write this, write that. It can kind of feel like, it's a little oppressive. So I thought I would do a talk about right intention. I think a good way to start this is to think about when we think of the second step of the Eightfold Path, the first step is right view, it's right understanding. So I didn't want to start with that because I wanted to talk about intention, but the first step is right or skillful understanding, and it shows us what life really is and what the problems are for us to solve. And right understanding is said to eliminate ignorance. So once we've taken care of that, we've eliminated our ignorance. Now we got to figure out what we're going to do. What's our intention? I notice for myself that there's a difference between saying I intend to and I resolve to. So I would invite you first to just sort of think of that in your mind by even just saying I intend to or I resolve to. There's a different tone, I think, because I think, often I find myself saying, well, I didn't intend to, hurt your feelings. But if you say I resolve to not hurt there's a little bit more of a energy to it, I think. So that's the first thing I would suggest is just to always think about, when you're thinking about an action you're going to do, are you intending for something, or are you really going to do the focus and awareness to resolve to do it? And it's also said that right intent urges us to decide what our heart wants, which is unusual because when you think of all the things that people do in the world, you sometimes think, well, they can't possibly have intended to do that if you look at the result, but here we are. So it's said that it's what our heart wants, but it comes from the heart, but the heart is not the only place that we want to find our pure intention. I absolutely believe that a terrorist feels in their heart that what they're doing is right. And so I've had disagreements with friends saying, well, but what's in my heart is right, but not what's in their heart is right. But to them, they feel it's right. So what does it mean to have right intention? Well, we need to go beyond what just our heart wants, but meld the mind and the heart about not only what's best for us, but what's best for others. And we all know this, but how does it line up with what we do? What did the Buddha say about right resolve? He said, what is right resolve? Resolve for renunciation, resolve for non-ill will, resolve for harmlessness. This, monks, is called right resolve. And the Buddha sums up the matter when he says that for a person who holds a wrong view, his deeds, words, plans, and purposes grounded in that view will lead to suffering. While for a person who holds right view, his deeds, words, plans, and purposes grounded in that view will lead to happiness. So during the meditation, I spoke a lot about really feeling grounded, because I know when I'm really up here, lost in this thing I want to do or resolve to do, it's like, where's my feet? We want to stay in our bodies. Our bodies are what's here. Our thoughts are just things that are coming and going. But it's what are we going to do with our body, with our feet? A saying of the civil rights movement was, pray with your feet. What's your feet going to do? So we've all heard the road to hell is paved with good intentions, that saying. I recently had this square in my face show me what this saying really means. So I'll tell you a little story. So I'm known for driving cars until they absolutely die, like to the point of unsafety, because it still works, And over 17 years ago, right after I had my daughter, we didn't have a car. And so we needed a car, and I convinced my husband, well, we need to get a minivan, because this is the ultimate family car. And he was not ready for a minivan. He had a real aversion to like the minivan phase of his life. Not as a father, but just as the car he drove. So I convinced him to get this car. It's the first new car I've ever driven. Just a basic Honda. And so that was over 17 years ago. I'm still driving this car. It's very low miles. It works great. It's never once not started. But he kept saying, we drive to Chicago a lot. We drive, we really need like a car that, now that our daughter's about ready to go to college, we don't have to have a minivan anymore. He has an electric car. He said, because we have solar panels, we way overproduce. He said, it's ridiculous we don't have 2 electric cars. So he watches the videos. We did the research. It can't be simple, right? You just, that was part of my, I could sort of see it, but I didn't want to see it about all of these emotions. I didn't want to let go of this car. It just represented my life as a mom. It represented all the things we did with that car. I renovated 2 houses with that car. It could fit a 12-foot piece of lumber. I mean, it's fantastic. I didn't want to get a smaller car. Range anxiety, all the things that, were preventing me from doing it. And he said, look, I know that you're never going to do this. So I'm just going to get a car. And he was right. He was right. So we find the new used car. We get a year-old electric car. It's in Richmond. So in the meantime, I'm thinking, okay, well, what are we we can't just trade it in. It's the dealer will never get, this great car, the dealer will never get us what it's worth. So, we could sell it. I was going to donate it to like the International Rescue Committee, but it has to pass all these tests or whatever. And he was just like, we got it, get it off the insurance, just get rid of the car. So then I have a friend who's a massage therapist who really needs a car. So we come up with this idea, we're going to trade for massages. This is so great. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to get 2 years of massages out of this thing. And she needs it and it'll be great. We don't have to have money involved. So I'm just thinking this is going to work out great. So we go to Richmond to pick up the new used car. And I said, I'll drive the van home one last time, And 5 minutes on 64, the engine light goes on. The engine light has never gone on in the car ever. you have to pull over. It's like you can't drive. So now it's a problem. It's a huge problem. And 5 minutes earlier, my husband had said, "Are you sure you don't want to trade in this car? We could just drive one car home and be done with it." So the whole time I'm oblivious to my husband's annoyance and suffering through this whole thing. I'm thinking, I want to do a good thing. But that wasn't really my only intention. I wanted to get something for it. I already got, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to get this thing that's like so nice and healthy and pleasurable and help someone out. And now now I have to spend money to find out what's wrong with it before I can even do anything with it. So I just could finally clearly see that my intentions were not what my mouth was saying, which was, I just want to help someone out. Well, I'm not helping out my husband, and now I can't help out anybody because, that being said, I would have hate to have given it to someone and then had it like stall on them, right? So in some ways, things work out, but I just kept hearing myself, I just want to do the right thing. I just want to do the right thing. And it's a car. It's a car. And I know it's kind of a silly example, but I was not clear on my intentions. I was not letting go. I was not doing what was best for all concerned. So it showed me I had a little bit of work to do on the subject. And luckily, part of wise intention is they call the 3 wise intentions, which is letting go, loving kindness, and compassion. And it's sort of like the sub intentions to sort of clarify what you may be thinking of. So the first one, letting go, is sometimes called renunciation, which I used to have a very negative reaction to that word. Because you think of, when I am a monk, I got to renounce everything. I can't have fun. I can't want things. No, another way to look at it is generosity, is letting go. So you're not like giving everything up, you're clearing the way. You're clearing the way for what is just really there. And Pema Chodron talks about that. Just when you hear the word renunciation, it's like opening up. You're almost like welcoming in this whatever happens because of the generosity of just your non-clinging. But all these words we've heard before, but we have to do it. We have to try it. And that's the whole crux of it. The Dalai Lama said about letting go, which is, it does not mean to give up desire. Desire must be there. Because without desire, how can we live our life? Without desire, how can we achieve Buddhahood? Strong desire is helpful. And we know that to desire to be harmful is bad. But desire of ourselves, in order to have self-confidence and willpower, those things are important so we can tackle the biological factors of hatred or anger. And I find it interesting that, at least if he said this or how it was translated, that he's saying that hatred or anger are biological factors. We all have that capacity, to be, I was gripping onto that van with, fists, why? It doesn't make any sense. So we need to have desire to want to be stronger, to have willpower, to be less clinging. Bob Hodge, who's started Whitehall Meditation, says this about letting go. It's about abandoning our wanting life to be other than it is. And he's said it 1,000 times, but it's so true. We deal with life as it is. We may have preferences as to how we want it to be, but fussing about how life is or acting unskillfully to get what we want is the wrong approach. I'm sure this is not news to any of you, but it's helpful to be reminded and to really think of even the subtlest things about, can I view it as a generosity? The second wise intention is loving kindness, which is also something that is a big part of my practice. And it's a great way to assess our intention. Because how does it feel to offer loving kindness to those people that you don't like? It's hard. It's, your intention may be to have a better relationship with a family member, but when that phone rings and you see the caller ID and you feel contracted, like, what's going on there? I mean, that's where the real work is, I think, sometimes with intention. I've gotten into it with one of my siblings, and they say, well, you teach meditation, how come you're acting like this? I said, well, part of this is being real and being human. So yes, I can see what's going on. I mean, it doesn't mean to be, it needs to be balanced, but balance is sometimes like this. And seeing, especially in relationships, if our intention is, well, I want to have compassion and loving kindness, it's like easier to do it for everybody except those close to you sometimes, I find. So letting go, generosity, loving kindness, and finally, compassion. Are we being harmful or harmlessness? Bhante D defined it as compassion is the melting of the heart at the thought of another suffering. So loving kindness we can, offer at will, offer to strangers, but compassion is just usually the reaction to someone's suffering or that of yourself. It's sort of like it feels different to me in a way. Like it's in response to something. And recently I found it very helpful that as we do loving kindness practice to ourselves and others, or offering ourselves compassion, that I was offering compassion for just not knowing why certain things are happening. I tend to have this recurring dream that is just really, really disturbing. And I've even tried dream yoga. I've done all these, gone to workshops, and then it comes back to this same place where I used to live, and it's a very frustrating, powerless feeling. And so after trying all that, I just realized, I have a desire to figure this out, but I just have to just let go and have compassion for myself that I may never know. And that's okay. So letting go, loving kindness, compassion, the three wise intentions. It's hard not to know. I think there's a survival instinct in there, but I definitely think that Dharma teachings and Dharma practice can come to the rescue. And I know when I first heard the term, don't get so comfortable. I mean, we want to be comfortable when we meditate, or we want to be comfortable, period, but it's that edge of where we start to feel uncomfortable when we really start getting aware. I had one of my main teachers, Howie Cohn, had said early on, what can happen is when you really start getting into the practice is that your emotions are going to get more extreme. You're going to feel things more deeply, and it's going to start feeling like it's out of control when it's not. It's just more your field of awareness is getting more open, and you're just seeing how you react to all those things. So that edge of, slightly, oh, wow, I wonder what's going on here, instead of having aversion, just, let's check it out. Why do I get so triggered when that particular sibling calls? I know why, but I'm still working on it. I heard a great term the other day, social arsonist. Social arsonist. And, drama queen, for kink, someone that always is agitating. And I thought, oh, that's so helpful, that term. The social arsonist is calling. Okay, don't get triggered. So wise intention can sort of sometimes be confused with goal setting. Because when we think of resolutions, I want to resolve to be fit. Well, you can't go to the gym and watch other people work out. You got to do it. So resolutions, and the goals are good. Goals keep us healthy. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to earn a living. But once we really get really super specific, Philip Moffat, it's interesting, he says usually that it has an agenda for involving other people. So, I mean, it's something I'm still thinking about, but it's one thing to do it for yourself. I want to meditate every day, or I want to, eat healthier food. But I want to, get that certain job or get that certain recognition and stuff. Now you are in a field of everybody else's goals and intentions. And it may not just be possible. It's okay if you don't ever, win an Oscar. That's not the point of filmmaking for most people, or a Grammy Award or whatever. It's like, that's frosting on the cake. That's not the true intention. And, in the inner workings of why people really want things, to apply the term best for all concerned can really be at odds with that. So at least Philip Moffat said that right intention is not goal setting. But he does say this: in choosing to live with right intention, you are not giving up your desire for achievement or a better life or binding yourself to be morally perfect, but you are committing to living each moment with the intention of not causing harm with your actions and words. And I think that's the biggest part of setting an intention and really checking in to see is to do the ethics, the sila check, the gut check about is this about myself, or is this best for all concerned? Right intention is not a moral law. It's a state, it's an attitude, a state of mind. I heard that, you have your intention, but then you have to decide how your attention is going to be applied. I may want to climb this mountain, but do I need to train? Do I need the right gear? What do I need for all that? And how am I going to get it? Am I going to ignore my family because I want to train for this thing so hard? No, that wouldn't be worth it. I think, they often say start where you are, and I really that's what I just love so much about this practice. It's just that it's just every moment of your life is, that's your schoolroom to see how it works. Finally, I wanted to say a few things about getting in touch with your deepest intention. I know for myself that when I first started meditating over 20 years ago, it's before I had a child and all the traveling I did for work. And I just wanted to meditate every minute of the day and go to retreats and go to workshops and study with this teacher and that teacher. I still had a marriage, I still had a career. It's like, am I using it as a, to sort of run away from things, or because I want to come off this great meditator? The thing I forgot to say about my van story is that the van was so old that the license plate I had was mindful. When I moved to Virginia, I was like, I can't believe I got the license plate, and no one knew what it referred to. That's, 17 years ago, mindfulness was not in the lexicon. And I know people would, when I lived in Lexington, they would stop me and say, they thought it was referring to the motto of Washington and Lee, that Robert E. Lee supposedly said, do not be unmindful of the past. And I'm from Chicago. I was like, what are you talking about? And I said, no, it's not in reference to Robert E. Lee. Yeah, so, 17 years later, now we're all trying to be mindful. I will be getting a different license plate with the new car. But it's our deepest intention. So, is it to wake up? It can be, if that really is your intention, it can be a rough ride, just to see where you are. Or it can be an opening experience to really see, like, we get to live this life. We get to be here. I may have said this before, but a few years ago, my favorite aunt died. And my cousins, who I was very close to, asked, I couldn't go. I think I was out of the country to the funeral, but my sister did. And she asked, normally my sister and I would always sing at family events. And so she asked my sister to sing Amazing Grace. And it was an open casket. And I just said, Linda, how did you get through it? Seeing our aunt right there, I would have just been a mess. And she said, you can't sing when you're dead. And she, wanted to do it she just sang her heart out and didn't get caught in the over emotion of it, but just that, while we're here, if our life is a song, what is the song you're singing today? Some days you may not feel like singing, but we each have this unique life. And not that we have to figure it out or like be the best we can be, but if our only intention is, I don't want to cause harm, it doesn't mean to not do anything, to shrink from life. We want to live life. But certainly an awareness practice is just so helpful. So asking yourself, am I resolving to wake up? Am I resolving to be loved? Am I resolving to love? Am I resolving to just be free? What does that mean for you? What does freedom mean? Freedom, it's like, I find it more helpful to not really think of I just want to be happier. It's I want to feel more free. And you don't feel free when you're caught in reactivity. Finally, there's a few things from this monk that I had studied with that I really love. And they were kind of resolutions, but he recommended that instead of saying I resolve to, that you say I vow to. So how's that for I didn't intend to hurt your feelings. I vow to not hurt your feelings. So he said, I resolve to be enlightened with an unshakable inclination to love above all else and let go. I vow to have the courage to live with an awakened heart. I vow to have the courage to live with an awakened heart. So that's really what I would like to leave you with. Do we have any comments or questions?
So what happened to the van?
It's sitting in my driveway, and I'm taking it to the mechanic on Thursday just to see exactly now what happens next. And my husband is saying we have 4 cars on our insurance now, so yeah.
Vehicles are a good lesson in non-attaching. You know, you look around the United States and it seems like our intention is to sort of worship our cars. They keep getting bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
expensive. It's a really good reflection for me. Like, oh, I don't need that. I don't need. Am I in my car? What is my intention? To be free. I mean, the intention of freedom. The more you have bound up in your car, that is part of your identity and money. Your car, the less you need.
Yeah. Yeah. Bob Hodge would always say, because he would say, the car is, when you buy the new car in your mind, he would say it's already dented. And that would make me so uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to imagine a new car dented. But that is what happened actually to the van. When I got the van, I was in the Whole Foods parking lot, and it was a big car, and I clipped the rearview mirror like the first month I had it. Any comments or questions? Anybody want to share a resolution? Well, I wish you all a good night. And if anybody wants to grab a flyer about Whitehall meditation or ask me questions privately, that's great too. Thank you so much. Thank you.